Sorry, I was a little bit distracted because my account apparently exploded, but we're totally back. And yeah, I don't know what to expect here in the next game because that one was so close that it was down to the wire. I can't imagine much of a more close ZVZ.
Right, and that was so sick. Both of the players just continuing to stay in and really just do whatever they can with their with everything that they had. All right, viOLet's just about ready to go. Let's see what's going on. Stephano with the assertive go.
Indeed, so the countdown timer has begun, which means we are just seconds away from game number 2 here. If you are just tuning in to this stream, you missed an awesome first set. You missed an awesome first game of this set. If my voice goes out in the next whenever, it's gonna be worth it because these games have been so good.
And so here for game number 2 on GSL Daybreak over here on the east side of the map, playing as the Red Zerg, this is Millennium Stephano. And that's right. So viOLet down here playing for Team Empire. He has recently just seen so much great success. All of that hard work just ultimately paying off for him. No, you absolutely are. So you know what I want to know? I want to know how many push-ups White Raw had to do to beat Stephano in a push-up contest. Or did White Raw just do like 100 and Stephano did 5, and then I can still say, I lost to White Raw in a push-up contest, even though that it was like not close at all?
Yeah, not close at all. I love those stats. Hopefully they keep them coming. But so far, one of the things I want to mention, and we did mention this in the last game that I think is so important, is ZVZ is evolving. And the main reason is because you can use the queens now to help snipe banelings, so you don't see as many crazy baneling hits in the early game. That's not to say...
It's that one extra hit, right?
Yeah.
That you need 1 or 2 extra hits that your queens are going to do. You also just end up having more queens anyway now because they're so good.
Right, and also that's not to say that you can't still see super early games that end really quickly because you're still 1 or 2 clicks away from losing all of your drones. If you mess up the transfer, if you mess up the trying to split them to run away from the banelings, then you can lose a lot of them. Now, we saw a long macro game in the last game, and I'm curious between viOLet and Stephano, which of those 2 players would rather have a longer macro game? Because long macro games are something that a lot of Zerg players, I imagine out of all the matchup of late game ZVZ has got to be like the most rare.
Well, it's just, yeah, it's uncomfortable, right? Because you haven't played it that many times. They don't, I mean, until recently, you just really didn't see them getting there. Even from the beginning of the game, essentially all ZVZs ended with like a all-in Mutalisks versus all-in Roaches base trade. And now, and then we saw it change into like Ling, Baneling for a long time, and then there's, I mean, Ling Mutalisk existed at certain points. It's kind of hard to do a lot with the Mutalisk now, with where Queens are and where Infestors are as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a dangerous spot to be in for Mutalisks, and we were talking to Chef a little bit earlier in that, you know, he prefers to go Infestors now for almost the exact same reasons that you mentioned, actually, in that the Mutalisk now just takes so much micro. Depending on the matchup, you're trying to dodge the Thors, you're trying to dodge now the Queens and the Spore Crawlers and all that, but if you can micro them beautifully, like we've seen players do in the past, like, it can be absolutely worth it. Now, we do see right up here, Stephano going for a little bit later of an expansion, which means he's going to be making a couple of lings here. He has 4 already done, I believe making 4 more as well, and maybe trying to pressure this a little bit. But 8 lings, that's a surprisingly large investment in this mirror matchup.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit here. I don't know, like, really it's going to just kind of be lost money, although we can see viOLet now putting down a Spine Crawler. He's preparing for any sort of aggression. His one Overlord there at about that 75-yard line was able to see that those Zerglings were coming down into play already, but now we can already see that the Queen is out there. The Spine Crawler is only a few seconds away from finishing. He can then bring the second Queen in for additional backup. Now we also see Stephano has finished up with his Link speed. Oh, able to get in there and get a free drone. So that's still pretty nice for him, although it just hasn't paid for that 8 Ling investment.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that a lot of players will say in that killing one drone in ZVZ is far worse than killing a drone in any other matchup because the drones are just so vital because both of you are trying to decide exactly when do I use my larva for drones, when do I use them for lings, but look at the amount of lings that viOLet has actually made here. Taking a look at that units tab, it is going to be 16 to 8, so exactly double here. And Stephano did get stuck behind the mineral line, which means he will lose a couple units here. But the interesting thing about this, Rob, is he spotted this in time, so he can prepare himself.
And now, a little bit of a role reversal here. We can see, no, just kidding. Stephano just adding on his baneling nest a little bit behind viOLet. Although neither of these players seem like they're going to stay too active. Although, man, Stephano is adding on so many Zerglings. I guess just in case viOLet tries to go for a really big push. Now, Stephano is preparing down at his ramp. He's used both of those queens to block that off very nicely. And now Stephano, once again, just losing a couple more lings by forcing an engagement out there.
Yeah, I mean, overall, looks
viOLet's
like 3-2.
Yeah,
and he does have the banelings on the way. So these are offensive banelings. Stephano's going for defensive banelings. Oh, he wants to. Oh, he actually got trapped up against the rocks here. If he buys enough time here, nope, managed to slip out just barely. Again, units lost here, still relatively even. It's going to come down to the drone count, which at this point is favoring viOLet.
Oh no, and it's wow. Stephano was just barely in range of that baneling fire just for a split second, and now we can see viOLet making fantastic trades, only trading 1 to 2 lings per baneling at the most, or trading a single baneling for another one, which is totally fine for him. Now Stephano already moving into his lair, and then viOLet follows suit.
Yeah, both once again going early lair text, which means ZVZ is becoming more of a macro-oriented game. Now, I do love viOLet, how this baneling kind of got left behind here, but he could still get a massive hit. If, you know, Stephano decides to move out, he's not going to know the banelings here. He is going to go for it, though. Stephano, oh my goodness, did lose a couple of the units there, but you can see that, you know, it's still not devastating for either of these players unless he loses drones, which he did not. And Rob, I'm getting really excited because this means it may be a longer macro game. We may be seeing similar situations we found ourselves in that first game. And I'm kind of curious to see, is anyone going to take a third? Stephano indeed is. Yeah,
Stephano always opting to go for those, like, crazy things that you would probably ask him after the game. Like, why were you confident in taking your third even though that viOLet continued producing so many units? He would just say, I can. And so now we have over here Stephano staying active with all of those lings. He really just needs to put on the facade that he's got a lot of units behind so that he can continue pressuring around the third and forcing units out of viOLet. Now, we've seen this bite players in the butt before. Oh, wow, landing huge banelings hit. This may very well trigger Stephano to follow up with a really big attack. Now, of course, it has forced viOLet into canceling his third.
Yeah, exactly. That is what I wanted to mention, is just that one baneling hit. That is what ZVZ has been for a long time. That not only means, you just lost half your lings, that means now you have to use more larvae, you have to cancel your hatchery. The amount of drones you have may be too many for the amount of bases you have. We do see an exact amount of drones for both these players, but viOLet's trying to take this third. It's going to be tough to hold on to it.
Oh, man, it's Stephano. No, we can see him make it. Oh, wow, Stephano losing a huge amount of banelings to only 2 banelings of viOLet. Now we've got Stephano trying to push in the front. viOLet's done a great job keeping the assault out of his base. Man, talk about mega trades.
Yeah, he absolutely needed that and needed it right then. So he was able to get himself back into this game. Massive baneling hits back and forth, and now Stephano, all of a sudden, his third base is undefended, and this could be a much bigger loss for him if he has to sack this expansion, because you can't cancel it. You do not get a refund. Whether or not you have a receipt, it doesn't matter. The hatchery getting dangerously low. It's at a little bit less than half. He may be able to hold it here, though. Oh, wow. It's actually going to get very low, but I do believe that Stephano is going to be able to finish it off as we see him try to focus it down. It only gets down to that 300 HP. And Stephano with the quick cleanup there. Fortunately, he did have about 24 lings in production shortly before viOLet tried to rush across the map and hammer down. Baneling speed is done for Stephano. I hadn't noticed if it's done for viOLet. Nope, hasn't even started it there. And that's going to be a huge benefit to him, because baneling speed, it allows you to get around your opponent's banelings, chase down the lings. What is viOLet doing? Well, he's going to be losing a couple more lings there. So we have seen a lot of sacrificial lings in this game, but we saw him do this last game. Now the Mutalisks are out, and is Stephano prepared?
He actually was creating spore crawlers as soon as we saw that spine crawl, or the spire begin. So I think that Stephano's going to be in a pretty good place here, although you can see that the lack of queens is actually hurting him quite a bit. There was only 300 HP on that hatchery, which means that viOLet is going to be able to finish off. Oh, just barely gets in with the queens to land the transfuse. Oh,
these mules are pissed. viOLet's pissed. He wants to kill us off so bad. The queens do not have enough energy for another transfuse, but he may be throwing away too many. And this has got to be so frustrating. And the baneling's coming in. He finally gets it right there. I don't even know if that transfuse registered or not. The timing of it was so perfect. We do see an attack over here on the left side as well. Now, Rob, I'm wondering, was that attack worth it? Taking a look at the units lost tab, he lost a lot trying to do that. Because you got to remember, banelings aren't free. I always
No.
have to say this. They cost gas. So if you're killing a building that doesn't cost gas, it has to be the perfect decision to do so.
They're one of
Is it enough?
They're one of the sickest units as far as larva efficiency goes, obviously, because
Right.
they come from the Zergling. You get 1 to 2, blah, blah, blah. But they do cost so much gas. There, he used 100 gas on that and lost all 5 of his Mutalisks. 5.
Yep. And did he lose all of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he lost 5, and I think he added 2 additional on.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I can't recall the last time I've seen a Zerg player so determined to kill another player's hatchery. But you know that he was able to stay in the game last game by killing off so many of those bases. Trying to do it again as well. And that does mean that viOLet is able to get up his expansion with a lot of drones way ahead of his opponent.
So what I really like is that viOLet continues to stay active with what Mutalisk he has, so that he can try to take away any sort of map knowledge that Stephano has. And now we have viOLet starting to push across the map. Oh, that Baneling may actually connect with Infestors, but he just doesn't have enough to follow up quite yet. One of the Infestors does go down there, and now we can see him using the Infested Terrans, and viOLet very intelligently now pulling back while he waits for those temporary units to wither away.
Yeah, man, these two heroes, the two Mutalisks are BFFs, man. They are the hero of the Zerg army right now, cleaning up that center map control, denying use of the watchtowers, although right now that Ling is still standing there. But at this point in the game, I mean, viOLet's at 150 supply because he just made a wave of 21 roaches. That tells me one thing, and that he is ready to move out. He's ready to do some damage. He also has Burrow. He has the move. And Stephano may have actually caught a glimpse of it. He did. He saw the little trickle of vision there. That is tough to do, especially on creep, to actually be able to spot that.
Like creep is actually already moving, so to see that shadow moving under it is incredible.
Yeah, and he made that overseer exactly. He had the Lings following it, and now he's going to be able to engage us, making us around all these roaches. They are going to be forced to unburrow. Stephano is sick.
Wow, and now we can actually see viOLet unfortunately did not spread out all of those roaches like I'm sure they so would have loved to before those Infestors were able to close that gap.
Man, I don't know, though. viOLet's continuing to make a lot of roaches. And we talked about the multi-prog attacks. This is becoming more and more popular in ZVZ. Can he lock down any of them down the Queen? Try and transfuse her as long as possible again. The expansion, though, it does look like this one will be cleaned up. Can Stephano actually hold on here, though? Because Infested Terrans, they move mighty slow, and Speed Roaches do not.
viOLet's just got so many roaches out here on the field, and as we see the Infestor's energy just slowly fade away, it's looking very rough for Stephano out here, so viOLet could very well have what he needs to tie this up.
All right, lobbing out those Infested Terrans. There's only a couple there, and it does look like, though, the Roach onslaught has continued. 86 supply to 200. I know roaches take up a lot of supply, but that is one hell of an uphill battle.
Oh, man. So viOLet just over here sitting on all of the bases at once, says, well played, bounces out of the game. That ties up the series 1-1 moving into game 3.
Stephano trying to be very cost-effective with those Infestors, but unfortunately for him, he wasn't able to do it because the Roach speed with the counterattack, I do want to clarify, Infested Terrans cost 25 energy. I was trying to do the math in my head before.
Oh, so you actually get 32 of them when you do the 4
so it's a lot.
Hit squad.
That just shows you
which
how
actually adds still how important it is to land those fungals and kill them.
Absolutely, and you know, it's such a cheap unit to get, but you can't chase speed roaches. Roaches already have a lot of armor, plus you see upgrades there out of viOLet, so you can't just kill roaches with pure Infestor, because roaches are dirt cheap, Infestors are not, and you cannot be cost effective there. So we're going to take a super fast, quick break. It's going to be like 30 seconds, I promise, and we are going to be back right after this. I'm Husky.
And I'm Rob Simpson. Stay tuned for game 3 between viOLet and Stephano.